What's up everybody, Kendatic here and welcome back to Lost Ark. In this video I want to quickly kind of give you guys an overview of the 3 known guardians or kind of raid bosses that we have so far in Lost Ark. We saw some pretty amazing action from various video creators here on YouTube and also some streamers, and I kind of want to give my take on each of these fights and also maybe sort of how I think it might be good to approach certain bosses as far as like tactics and positioning and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. So far we have seen 2 different maps for the 3 guardians, and more than likely we'll see more maps, of course, as well as more guardians, but this is what was in the first beta test. This is the Misty Ridge map, and later we will see, I believe it's called the Frozen or Frost Haven, something like that. I really like the setting here. And these fights already give me like Monster Hunter vibes, but this map especially also definitely makes me think of Monster Hunter. And this is almost like a continuation of my last video, how I was talking about endgame being very much like Monster Hunter for Lost Ark. And I think that you guys will agree, especially as we look at these different fights. Now we've got some trash that spawns around here, very easy to take out. Up in the top left of the window, you can see there's the time limit that's ticking. You can see the number of revive orbs. In the mid left, that's the players that are in this party, 1 through 4. And for this perspective, we're looking at the, I believe this is the in-fighter advanced class for the fighter class. Now these maps are pretty interesting. It shows you kind of directions. That's what the arrows represent, as far as like which ways you can go in order to kind of path your way around. The interesting and fun thing I think also about these fights here, oh there he is, there's Chromanium. The bosses themselves will spawn randomly each time on these maps, and there's no icon to find out where they are. You have to find them basically just by searching around. So it does kind of take some time. Maybe you'll get lucky, maybe you'll be unlucky, might take you a little bit longer to find them, but once you do, then it's on. Now with this boss here, I noticed that he does a lot of splash damage. Basically he flops around on the ground a lot, trying to scare you or to hit you from for being close range to him. So you really want to keep on your toes. Really, with all of these fights, I think you really want to keep on your toes and read the boss's body language, right? Read the telegraphs just before it's about to do certain attacks, because unlike in other bosses outside of these raids here with the guardians, they have like kind of ground warnings, but not these guardians. These guardians will not give you like red flashing cone sections showing you exactly where damage is about to hit you. Like for example, that big breath spray that he just did there was no warning other than looking at the boss, and I really like that. I wish all the bosses actually were like that, but at the very least I'm liking that they've got no warnings like that. So you really got to pay attention and keep your finger ready on that dodge button, because that's pretty much the only thing that's keeping your ass safe in these fights, is reading the language and getting ready to dodge out. Now, in this fight, this fighter's getting punished right now, but you can see up again in the top left, we've already had 2 knockouts, so they're allowed 3 more knockouts, and then on the 4th after that, that will be the end of the fight. It will be a complete fail. If you get knocked out beyond the number of revives, then it's over. So with these kinds of fights, I think that coordination is really going to be key. Like, you've got to have good party members with you. I mean, you can of course outgear these fights, I'm sure, especially the early ones like Chromanium here, but for the later guardians and the ones that really start to do intense amounts of damage, you're gonna need good party members with you in order to organize and strategize and things like that. Otherwise it will probably be fail after fail. Something interesting about Chromanium specifically is that he's got this this very hard shell, obviously because he's a turtle, right? And it's got like these rocky formations. You can actually break those if you deal a certain type of damage, and you deal enough of that damage type to break that, very much again like Monster Hunter. And then by doing so, he'll actually have a permanent defense decrease, which is quite cool. Also, Chromanium, actually, I think all of the Guardians so far that I've seen have an incapacitated state, so if you can get them knocked down and kind of stunned for a short time, then like this right here, then his damage, even if his back isn't broken, his defense, I should say, is weakened. And so this is a really great opportunity right here to deal tons of damage for, you know, all sorts of reasons. For one, he's not attacking, so you don't have to worry about dodging and things like that, but his defense is gone down in this case. We're going to see his eyes light up, and this is actually kind of cool because I think that this represents, like it seems for all of the Guardians that I've seen so far, that they kind of go into these different phases or evolutions for how powerful they are, and I believe that that may be what that means. But there you go, you can see that these guys actually did quite well, I think, against Chromanium, and there's all the loot splashed all over the ground. GG. So next up we've got a Phoenix type boss called Helgaia, and this is a harder difficulty boss. You can see also at the top left that there's one less revive orb available to you for this fight. Same time limit, same requirements, pretty much otherwise. But this right here, what the boss is actually doing is trying to evolve, and if you are good at coordinating your attacks at the right time, right when that starts to begin, then you may interrupt it like we saw that this party did. All of the bosses, as I was kind of mentioning with Chromanium, seem to evolve, and definitely with Helgaia, it's very obvious, not just when the boss is trying to go into that evolution, but also if it does, in fact, achieve that evolution. So it's really important to make sure, if you can, to try and get on the boss as soon as you see it starting to try and power up into its next evolution, because it gets more and more dangerous as it evolves. Now this boss in particular, oh, here comes another evolution attempt. Do they? Yes, they do. They do interrupt, and there you go. You can see, very much like Chromanium before, kind of goes into a very short, incapacitated state where its defenses are likely lowered, and you can deal extra damage during that period. But this boss is certainly more dangerous, I think, than Chromanium, because Chromanium was basically a lot of splash damage around him. Didn't really do much otherwise, like a breath attack here or there or something like that. But Helgaia does all kinds of stuff, and I think it gets more and more important as you go to make sure that you're reading the body language. Here we go with another power-up attempt, but this time he does succeed in powering up, and you can kind of see now the wings are like a bit in flames now. It's a little bit more redder, and the eyes are lit up. But Helgaia is more dangerous because Helgaia does many more ranged attacks and more often than Chromanium. A lot of the attacks here are extremely dangerous. Those beak attacks right there, you can see it's kind of like doing like this really hard peck motion with its head, and if it hits you twice with that, that's a lot of damage. Going for another evolution, and actually gets it too. So now it's really obvious now that this boss has evolved, and it looks absolutely awesome, I think. I love when it gets to this stage, honestly. It looks so freaking cool. But between the peck attack, it's also got a new charge attack. It's got a single fireball ranged attack. There's a triple fireball ranged attack that we just saw there. It's got another different charge attack, and this is probably one of the most dangerous ones right here. This kind of fire barrage, it will go up into the air and then just rain down hell on you and your party. And you can see that they lost a couple of revive orbs because of that. A couple of people got knocked out. Speaking kind of on, oh, and there's a knockout right there. Speaking of just kind of the general restrictions and ideas here for what's going on also with these Guardian fights, you may have noticed also that the potion is completely locked out. You cannot use your basic potions during these Guardian fights. However, you can use other consumables that you can either buy or craft for your character and have equipped and ready for these fights. The green vial or the green potion bottle looking thing on the action bar is actually a heal, but you can only bring a limited number of those with you to these fights. Now this is the famous Bittertooth fight right here. If this doesn't scream Monster Hunter, I don't know what does. This boss right here is an awesome combination, I think, of kind of Jinoga and Tigrex from the Monster Hunter series, and this is, of course, in the Frozen Haven, I believe is what it's called. And once again, just like all the other bosses, Bittertooth will spawn randomly, and you got to go find him. And he's got a lot of both of what Chromanium and Helgaia kind of offered in terms of like close range punishment, like those claw attacks right there, and also there, long range frost orbs and a frozen breath attack. Up at the top left, you can see that there's only 3 revive orbs for this boss, and between that and how insanely powerful this, I believe, 7-star boss is, I have not seen anybody. I don't think there's any videos on YouTube or anything anywhere showing bringing down Bittertooth during the first closed beta test. But this boss is just awesome, man. I mean, it's one of the most insanely powerful, aggressive, and just really cool looking bosses. Not to mention that it's in also a snowy region, which I really like. Snowy regions kind of takes me back to Monster Hunter Portable 2. You know what I mean? And that's gonna wrap up their attempt on Bittertooth. This is another attempt, same group, I believe, not long after that attempt. So there's a little look at the map, which is a different shape than the Misty Ridge. And here, Bittertooth looks like he hit the jump on them and is already putting some serious pressure on the Bard. The Battle Master that we're looking at now, not the Infighter, is trying to get some good damage in there while Bittertooth's attention is occupied on somebody else. The way that the aggro table seems to work is that it has nothing to do, it seems, with how much damage you're doing. It simply will, for a period of time, focus on somebody and then choose somebody else after that, and then focus on them and then choose somebody else after that. Just like, again, I'm starting to sound like a broken record, just like Monster Hunter, really. there's no, you know, no other real aggro table, I don't think, at work here other than that. No way to control sort of who he's focusing on or anything like that. So you really have to kind of keep on your toes and wait for your turn, right? If it's not focused on you, then deal as much damage as you possibly can. Spread out from your other teammates. You really don't want to be stacked on top of each other. If, for example, you're ranged, you know, both of you are ranged or both of you are close range or something like that, do not stack on top of each other, because what will end up happening more than likely is the boss will turn to one of you two and then hit both of you with some, you know, breath attack or claw swipe or something like that. If you're just, you know, a few paces away from each other, then you will avoid taking unnecessary damage like that. Again, positioning is going to be one of the key things to successfully bringing down bosses like Bittertooth, I think. So deal damage when you can, when it's not focused on you. Be ready, keep your dodge ready, or even I think some people have been smart enough actually to use also attacks or some kind of abilities or whatever that can also act as a dodge. Maybe it's like a leap forward and punch attack or something like that by the fighter. Then if the dash is maybe still on cooldown or something like that after, you know, recently dodging a breath attack or something like that, then you can still have that that extra ability, that extra movement and mobility to keep yourself out of harm's way. Boom! I love that. I love that he dives down like that and then comes crashing back up to the surface. It's such a cool move. Oh boy. And now they have no revives left. Bittertooth is back down, and they're all stacked almost on top of each other. So when he came up, he just punished everybody, and of course, killed the lowest health one, which was the last casualty that they could take for the fight, and wraps up that attempt. And that's gonna